One, two, three, two, three. So what's up, guys? This is Mirror Music. I'm Andrew. That's Coop, and we have not done one of these shows in a very, very long time. This is going back actually to our original incarnation of this show, which was it's been 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. I can't remember. A
Feels like
while.
feels like 3,
Might
actually.
have been three. Where we take a song from each side and talk about how they compare and how um despite coming from like different locations and different worlds and different that kind of stuff, then a lot of us still have same emotional content like deep down, right? And still are interested in the same stuff when we're singing songs. So today's episode is one that I've had in the queue for a very, very long time. Um, it is The Counting Crows, A Long December, and Wyclef Jean's Gone Till November, which is, an appropriate time of the year to be doing this. That's part of the reasons why it's been sitting in the queue and we haven't recorded it, is
Right.
because this is end of November, beginning of December. So, what's up, man? It's good to see you.
Likewise. Haven't done this in a minute.
Yeah,
Um, glad to have some free time to be able to do it with you.
yeah, me too.
Um, yeah, that's always a blessing. You know some of the things that have happened to me personally this year, so it's like, yeah, well, I'm really looking at life as a blessing. Um, New podcast that we're a part of, new crew. Been a transitional year. It's been a year of change for me, some for better, some for worse. Always for education and information to be better down the line.
Mhm.
And excited to do this. I believe you did pick this pairing, and this has been in the queue for a very long time.
And it kind of has to be November, December when you're talking about this because not only are the titles that, but the content is are both the content of both songs is related very specifically to the time of year. Um, and not to put too fine a point on it, also relates to um, what you referenced about the changes in your life going on too. Really, I mean,
Yeah,
they do that. I didn't do that on purpose, but that it does seem to music like this speaks, across generations and across whatever, and we'd find different touch points at different points of our lives, I guess.
music is kind of like acupuncture in a lot of ways. There are so many needles that can touch you that it can like affect and evoke certain things, and so this record, touches a point within the fabric. The record on my side, the Wyclef Gone to
Yeah,
November record, for clarity, it provides a simple yet complicated insight into a broken fundamental understanding that's accepted. So I actually thought that maybe we should work in reverse though and talk about the Counting Crows record. Something about it feels like the flow would be better if we actually start with that record.
the thing that struck me today, I mean, obviously the song I've heard thousands of times. It was one of those alternative radio mega hits that was played over and over and over and over again. This was also 1996 too, along with so actually these two songs were released not terribly distant from each other
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Um,
Gone to November's '97.
right. So this is from their second album called Recovering the Satellites, um, which comes after August and Everything After, which was their huge transcendent mega hit. And that was 93, I think. Um, and I think I don't know that I have my timeline 100% right. I'm pretty sure Adam Duritz, lead singer, had a breakdown like in between these two, like in between August and Everything After, and which we have talked about in the episode about Mr. Jones, and um, and this album. So it was 3 years later ish, and a lot happened obviously in that interim. Um, I actually noticed listening to it today for the first time in a while that this is like the end of the Mr. Jones relationship, or it could be the end of the Mr. Jones relationship. Like the Mr. Jones songs, I was down at the New Amsterdam staring at this yellow-haired girl. Mr. Jones strikes up a conversation with a black-haired flamenco dancer, and she dances while her father plays guitar. She's suddenly beautiful, and we all want something beautiful. Man, I wish I was beautiful, right? That's the opening lyric to Mr.
Mhm.
Jones. And the second verse of this song is, I'm gonna look at, let's see, the smell of hospitals in winter and the feeling that's all a lot of oysters and no pearls. All at once, you look across a crowded room and see the way the light attaches to a girl, and it's one more day up in the canyon and one more night in Hollywood. And if you think I can be forgiven, like it's so it's like the other end of
The
that.
tone is more somber and reflective, like
Yeah,
something is already passed him by.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the in my head anyway. I mean, I'm creating a story for him, but whatever. Um, That's what they pay me all the big bucks for. That's Mr. Jones, the song is the beginning of that relationship. He sees her for the first time, right? And this is like I'm driving out, um, not really up by the Hollywood sign, though he says Hollywood a bunch of times. There's one more night in Hollywood. Um, and like looking down over the city as kind of like the end point of that
I
relationship.
think that's just writer shit setting the scene.
Yeah, could
Yeah,
be.
yeah. I don't think it's actually. I mean, it could be happening in Hollywood, but
I mean, Hollywood's a good metaphor for lots of things. We'll get into that later, but like it's um for sure. So those are the thoughts that I had to start with. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful song though. Like it's
so my sentiments are kind of similar to yours. I think just a little. How about this? I think you provide a more detailed breakdown of what the song means and what I'm about to say.
mhm,
It's a really beautiful breakup song, or sounds
it
like
is.
a song. I don't want to say breakup song because the record isn't written. The record isn't written and delivered like the breakup is fresh.
No.
It feels like it's almost like it's almost like sitting in the room that you sat in with her before,
Yeah.
and it's a year later,
Mhm.
and you're reflecting, remembering the last time that you sat in the room there with her, like when things were okay before
Yeah.
things came to whatever they came to.
Yeah.
It's written in that manner, and so there's something about it that I think that's what I mean about that acupuncture. Like that touches something in all of us because I think a good bit of us have been there before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
so,
we can, like I just did, write our own experiences sort of on top of
right.
it.
So,
And
so, so, like most great records, well, the relatability level
mhm,
super high once again. Like we find from doing all of these songs over all of these years now that well, the biggest records are usually the ones that are most relatable at the end of the day.
mhm,
And that just that frame to me, in terms of how I view it, is a very relatable type of pain, reflection, and
mhm.
expression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even the specificity of the smell of hospitals in winter, like, that's a very concrete smell. I mean, forget the winter part for a second, but, like, the smell of hospitals, like, we all kind of know what that smell
Well, also too, that can also
is.
be used as a metaphor to relate to death, as in the death of the relationship, the smell of hospitals, like, oh,
Right.
this is dead or dying or in ER or in trauma response unit.
Yeah.
Like typically when you're in the hospital, unless you're having a kid, it's usually not
Not
good.
a positive situation, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So, it's I mean, I didn't necessarily wanna go to this place already, but, like,
Unless
literally speaking, right, the winter is about death, it's about endings, it's which is why it's set in December too. Um,
the last.
right. And which actually connects back to Wyclef's song. Well, it's not quite time to get to that yet, but like it is also about the end of the year. I'll be gone until it gets cold outside, right? I mean, I'll be gone
It
ish.
it we are going to talk about it, but it's more of a metaphor that represents a couple different things in Black culture.
Right.
In my Here's the thing with this record. Do you feel like, I mean, obviously the previous album, mega mega hit. Do you feel like this record got the same amount of attention and notoriety that maybe it deserved. Because I'll never forget
Mhm.
Prince's interview with Larry King when he was talking about I believe he was talking about Purple Rain in relationship to Parade, in terms
Mhm.
of how Warner Brothers marketed the
Right.
album. It's like, and he's pretty much saying, it's 10 toes down when I make Purple Rain, but it's like when I make Parade, it's like it's not the same energy. You know what I'm saying? They
Mhm.
don't love those records the same. The records aren't as good on Around the World in a Day as they are on Purple Rain. It's fucking Purple Rain.
Yeah. It's one of the greatest albums that's ever been made. Like, it's
So, but there's a lot of stuff on there. There's actual Pop Life, Raspberry Beret come to mind. Like as
mhm.
far as like what a record company would desire, and if
Right.
you're looking at those types of records, it's like, well, it's 1985. How many people are capable of even making those records? Because you can probably count those people on one hand. Definitely only two at the most.
Yeah.
You know. And so what he's really speaking to is how, like, when you hit it big, sometimes they really don't double down on you like they should. Because I feel like after this record, I never really heard from them again. Like, do you feel like that the
Not really.
music?
I mean, you have a couple pieces that pop up every once in a while, but not
Yeah,
really.
so I feel like this is also like one of those stories too. It's like a somber story, but I think it's kind of like appropriate for kind of like what happened to them, because it's like I remember this record, but then I don't remember anything else about them ever again.
Yeah. The I mean, they had a couple other songs, um, honestly, whose names escape me now, which kind of proves the point, that you're making. Um, the most famous one that I remember after this was, they covered Big Yellow Taxi, which is a Joni Mitchell song. That's the,
I didn't know they covered that.
Pave Parking Lots put or Pave Paradise put up a parking lot song, right? I mean, which is the one that's cited in the Janet Jackson song too that you taught
Right.
me years ago. That's called Big Yellow Taxi, and they did a
Oh,
cover of
oh,
that one.
I didn't know they covered it. I'm familiar with
Mhm.
the Joni record. I didn't know that
Yeah.
they covered it.
So yeah, it's they did not disappear exactly. I went to see them actually play live. That would have been 2000-ish probably. Um, in Atlanta actually. Um, and they were not
So
good, really, um, which is a
I
shame. I mean, they put do you
wasn't
know
I wasn't expecting to hear that.
they do you know the band live, like, that with I
Mhm,
Alone and Lightning Crashes,
mhm.
etcetera? Okay. They were
Yeah,
playing a double bill, like, they were playing one of those
same time
2
frame. Because
yeah,
Lightning
they were
Crashes was just as big as, yeah.
Lightning Crashes was one of the biggest songs of the '90s. We can get to that one some other time. That's a great song.
I thought we did Lightning Crashes.
Mm. I mean, we've talked like, mentioned it in the show before, we never did an episode about it, though. They have 2 albums, Counting Crows do, that was released kind of as a double album. One is called Cross the Wire, where they have some live performances of many of these songs, many of which are jammed out to a pretty long length, like 7, 8, 10 minutes. Um, and then the sort of second disc of that is their VH1 Unplugged performance. I think you're frozen again. But the VH1 Unplugged performance, and both of those records are really, really good. Like, just to sit and listen to, they're very, very good. And um, so I was expecting good things, and Live was one of my favorite bands of the '90s too. Like I really enjoyed their music. So
But why was the show terrible, Andrew?
it's one of the things that I love
I'm
about.
fascinated about the show now.
Hmm?
I said I'm fascinated about the show now.
No, okay, so here's the thing, like, one of the things that I love about watching concerts, um, it's honestly one of the reasons that, the Grateful Dead has hooked my attention recently too, is I like hearing versions of songs and performances that are not exactly like the recorded albums. Like, I like hearing stuff they add, stuff they subtract, stuff they jam out, stuff they change a little bit, um, or they repeat the chorus an extra time or whatever, right? Like, I like the experience of the song to me to be special, like a one of one performance. Because if I wanted to hear them sing it exactly like the album, I would just go listen to the thing, right? Like, for
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
So, a
Mhm.
lot of the songs, ironically, for a band that was known for, like, jamming it out a little bit, were very, very album close to it. And the jam stuff that they were doing was not interesting. Like, it was just taking the, like, main riff kind of stuff as a I'm telling this story, 25 years later, so I may be misremembering some of it too, but, um, it didn't feel like it was going anywhere. It didn't feel like it was doing anything. It was just, like
They just existed at that
yeah.
point.
And it was sad. I mean, and I think they've had, like, a second career renaissance. The Big Yellow Taxi cover and all this stuff was, like, 5 years after this. So, um it was just a weird night. It was a weird night for lots of reasons. I was with an ex-girlfriend, not currently it wasn't an ex-girlfriend at that time, but, who went to school in Atlanta, and so I was with her and her best friend for one of her best friends from home who was also living in Atlanta at a different college, and other girl's boyfriend, um, and we were, like, in the, like, 3rd row or something like that. It was really close on to the stage, and
Mm.
it was
Baller seats.
yeah, that I didn't pay for, but, I don't I think he as I remember, this is again, maybe I'm just inventing stories now or filling in gaps in my brain, but as I remember it, I think he got the tickets, like, from his work or something like that. I think, the other guy did. Anyway, so it was it was a weird it was a weird night all the way around, not just concert-wise, but it's it was one of my less favorite concerts that I've ever been to,
It
and
sounds that way because I really haven't heard you talk this way about concerts that you've been to.
no, because I never went to a ton. I mean, I've been to a bunch, but, like, not I know plenty of people who've been to way more, um, and most of them are really great
Oh,
experiences.
so well, I didn't just meet her, but I know this woman.
Mhm.
She saw Prince 24 times.
Yeah, wow, that's
24.
we need to get her on Mirror Music and just interview her and let her talk about the shows
I might
that
be able to pull that off. I don't have her
that would be
contact.
great though, like
I'll get it. Yeah, but it's seen Prince 24 times. Like I told her I went to Paisley Park for my birthday. She was like, "Oh," she was like, "I got to do it." She was like, "Cause I was like, "Yeah, I've seen him X amount of times." She was like, "Yeah, I saw him 24 times." I was like, "What the fuck?" I
whoa,
said, "What you say?"
do it
I said, "What
again?
you say?" I said, "Did you do what?" She said, "Oh yeah." She's like, She said, "I've flown across the country to go see Prince perform, and just I was just gave me like a 15-minute just do 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 do
Yeah,
do." I
see
was
see,
just
that
like,
kinda stuff is the kind of 'cause that's a good thing for the show generally because because Prince obviously crosses cultural boundaries, obviously.
all of them.
Everybody loves Prince, but also it's a historical thing too, like, there needs to be some
If I'm not
recording of, like, remembering these things for people who were there.
And some of it is the timestamp of it too, because if I'm not mistaken, she's about 4 or 5 years older than me,
Mhm,
or us, I should say. And so that would make her 47, 48.
mhm.
And so if you really think about that, that means when like he was making all his prime stuff, she
She's a
was
teenager.
12, 13, 14,
Yeah.
15, 16. Got her ass. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. You're a teenager, you're a young teenager, and you're hearing Dirty Mind, Controversy, 1999, Purple Rain. Like,
Mhm.
so the type of fan that even I am, there's a generation that's 4 to 10 years older than me that, they're junior high in school and college. Like,
Yeah.
this, yeah, this is their guy. And not to say Mike isn't the guy, but let's keep in mind, and this is what I mean about Prince being the guy. No, Mike dropped an album in his prime every 3 to 5 years. Prince was dropping every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were more likely to go see him perform
Yes.
multiple times, multiple tours, more
Yeah.
shows, because more albums. Yeah. So, re- nice little sidebar. What are your thoughts on this song overall in terms of their greatest hits catalog? Like, do you think it's one of their five best songs?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's certainly
I do.
I would say if I was being objective, I would probably say that it's their most famous song.
You want to know what's crazy to me, and I'm not being funny when I say that. It's funny to me how contemporary popular white music bands like the Counting Crows can pop up and just go sell 7, 8, 9, 10 million records, and then it never really happen again.
Yeah,
Usually in black culture, when we attach us, like with our artists, like they usually go
mhm,
multiple times if they go. Like it's not just a one
right.
off where people flock to you and then they don't flock the way that they used to anymore. It's like, I mean, let's take like a Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey. It's like, no, gone diamond multiple times,
Mhm. Yeah,
for multiple projects.
right.
You go, look at Mike. No, Mike's going diamond multiple times, multiple projects.
Mhm.
It's it's usually like some sort of consistency to it on this side culturally. Why do you think that is? Like even let me put it in hip hop terms. So it's
I'm
like,
seeing how many sales this album had too while you're talking too, that's what I'm doing.
okay, okay. Um, you have somebody like, let's take 50, who did 10 million with Get Rich or Die Trying. Well, the Massacre did like 7 million, and the Curtis album did like 3, 4 million. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like, oh no, no, no. He still went multi-platinum multiple times. It wasn't like he did 10 million one time and then didn't really sell big again. It's like he sold big on those other albums too.
right.
Nas and Jay did the same thing. It's like Nas's biggest selling album is like 3 million. That's the bootlegged album. It probably would have did 4 or 5. Jay
Mhm.
did 5, but before that, Nas did 2. Jay did 1. Like, and
Yeah.
did platinum albums after that. So it's like,
It said this Recovering the Satellites album is double platinum, so 2, which
2
is
versus what? What did the first one do? 7?
7 or 8, yeah.
7 or 8?
Yeah,
So 6 million, a 6 million drop off
yeah. It's
from one album.
it's it is as I have not listened to the entire album in a long time, and we're talking in sidebars, I'm sorry, but, like, it's I don't remember it being as good. It has some moments like that that are really great. Um, there's another song called "Angel of the Silences," that I really like too,
See,
but
when I
generally as an album that you listened all the way through, it's not like that.
See,
Um,
when I said that about Kendrick's album, people called me a hater. It seems so much better when you deliver commentary like that than when I deliver it. But that's neither here nor there. Talk a little? You want to talk a little Gone in November?
yeah, man, that's fine.
Uh, so this is 1997. 1997 is such a funny year for rap. Big died. Life After Death is the best rap album in 1997.
Okay.
Uh, I think a lot of people feel like Puff's No Way Out is, and I think
Mhm.
that's crazy over time. How people forget that Life After Death was like released when Big died, which is March, so it
Mhm.
came out in April, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And the album was pretty much done. He was doing rollout for it. He had already shot the video to Hypnotize, and
Mhm.
you know, everything was on and popping. So Life After Death is the best album. But after Life After Death, The Carnival by Wyclef is one of those albums that you could say is in contention to be the silver medalist for rap
Mm.
album of the year. And that includes against, Puff and the Bad Boy Family and the Machine that existed that has Big on there as well. Like the
Right.
No Way Out essentially starts off with Big shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm pretty certain Big and Mace penned most of those records on the front half of that album. Um, but it's a really it the carnival is really really different
Mhm.
for the times in hip
Yeah.
hop culture. Wyclef has always been kind of different. The Fugees were kind of always different
Yeah.
in a good way,
Yeah.
in a Tribe Called Quest De La Soul kind of
Right.
way. And this album embodies that in a lot of ways. This album is better than the score in terms of its
Mhm.
aesthetic, because I feel like it's more rooted in not necessarily rap culture, but black culture.
Mhm.
And this is the record of all the records that's rooted in rap culture and black culture the most.
Okay.
So that might make it the most important song on what is considered to be a classic album by
Yeah.
many.
Yeah. Wyclef, this is I don't think I've ever said this on the show. Wyclef's Carnival is one of the albums. If I had to pick the 3 hip hop albums I listened to the most as like a teenager and young college student age person, um, there is the Black Album slash Gray Album, the Beatles version of, or the Beatles ever
Danger
done
Mouse.
on the Danger Mouses on the Black Album. Things Fall Apart and the Carnival were the 3 that I listened to the most. And
That's
there you can tell something about my biases, I guess, by listing those 3, just because I mean, one's the Beatles, obviously, and one I mean, the bars on the Black Album are great. We do talked about that on Hip Hop Talks the other day, but, like, I mean,
stellar.
they're amazing. But, um and then Things Fall Apart, and the roots are, in my semi-ignorant high school, college brain, they're a real band, right? Like, they're people
No, they're
playing
a real band.
instruments and stuff. They're
No, they're
playing
real,
instruments, they're whatever.
real band.
They are a real band. I'm not saying that part in quotations. I'm saying, like, in my head, that other hip hop groups were not real bands in
It's
the
so
same way.
cool. No, no, no. It's so cool. Like the thought process always was why can't the front man to a live band be a rapper for once? And I love that they were the first,
Yeah.
like, and then you look at who the front man is on the microphone, and it's like, oh
Well, he's
man,
a bad motherfucker right there.
could have picked a better
Yeah.
front man. He's a
Yeah.
special motherfucker on the microphone,
Yeah,
right?
he's so good. We've had this conversation on the show many times and behind the scenes thousands of times that Black Thought's my favorite. He's my favorite, like,
He's
of
the, he's the type of rapper that makes you want to rap. That's
mhm,
why. Like there aren't a lot of rappers who their raps make you want to rap.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like he makes you want to rap. It's like, oh man, this is fucking this is
it's
exquisite what
amazing.
you were doing,
Yeah,
and it makes me want to do it too. Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's special.
and then obviously the Carnival, which I mean, you can speak more to now, obviously, but is much more melodic in many ways too. Um,
I think he just brought his Haitian culture to hip
that's what I
hop.
mean. Yeah, I mean, it has that. It's not reggae influenced exactly, but it's
No,
islandish. I mean,
yeah,
it's got
that's
that
what I
kind of
mean. He's Haitian.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
so, it's like when you're from Haiti and Barbados and Jamaica and the Bahamas. It's like there's a certain it's like having a southern accent. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like there's a certain twang to how you talk and how you walk and how you speak. And that influence is sprinkled over this album.
Mhm,
And this is what I mean about sprinkled over it. It's like, well, this is kind of a love song
mhm.
about a man explaining to his woman, I'm a fucking hustler. I gotta go get this money.
And I can't
I
be here for
I
yeah.
might get locked up, but what I got to do, I really can't talk to you for a couple of months. So I'm going to be gone, and you're going to just trust it when I come back. Like, I'm going to have a bag full of money, and we're going to do it real big.
Yeah.
And he's explaining that almost like, almost like as if you would pull up in Cuba and have somebody playing a Spanish guitar and singing a love song on the street. Like he's doing it in that
Which is
manner.
literally what Guantanamera is, right? Like, that's
Right.
we'll get to that in a minute, but yeah, sure, go ahead.
And he's literally doing that on record, but he's doing it while he's talking about a hustler's life and a hustler's lifestyle while explaining to his girlfriend, like, I can't, like, and he's also explaining some of the systemic and institutional racism with some simple stuff. I can't work a 9 to 5, as in the world that you may want me to exist in
I can't.
to legally get my money. That world does not accept me to be able to financially provide the things for you and me the way that I desire. And
Mhm.
so I have to
You
go
can
do
you can
this.
also hear that line, or I also can hear that line as, like, my spirit doesn't let me sit still long enough to do that kind of job. So, that's one of those fun lyrics that works either of those
I'm glad you said
ways.
that too, because this is somebody who's kind of like a rapper and a singer and a guitar player. And he's kind of saying with that bar too, well, baby, I got gifts and they don't involve going to a motherfucking 9 to 5 at the bank every day, you
Yep,
know? And
that's
and
right.
you don't have to be quote unquote hustling illegally to have that mentality.
Right.
You can just have a creative mindset and space and way of approaching life.
Mhm.
And I'm very privy to that, quite frankly, because it's like, well, I've lived a lot of my life that way.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and for the most part has been very fruitful for me to live my life that way. Like, I've had, I mean, for where we are, it's like, Andrew, I've had way more great years than bad years. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
And so it speaks to ethos in our community of hustling legally and illegally. And so I'm kind of glad that you brought that up before I had a chance to, because he's actually embodying a hustler's ambition
Mhm.
on this record while making it a love song at the same time, while
And
making it catchy on top of that. That really
and
makes
it's
it one of
smooth too. You think of or most people think of hustling songs as very like, in
yes,
your face, and this is not at all.
it's one of the
It's
more underrated songs from its era because of that. Because it actually checks almost every box you would want a classic song to check,
Mhm.
including the fact that it's revered and reverenced by other rappers. Like 50 has a line on it's a record called Bonafide Hustler on Young Buck's album Straight Outta Cashville. The
Mhm.
record's called Bonafide Hustler. 50 does the hook. But on the verse, he says, that Haitian nigga with the guitar that sings Gone to November. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's referencing the track, but he's doing it on a track where he's talking about hustling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because he's saying stuff before eighth after eighth. What you know about that fast flip? Crack Spock Smokey, fiend sucking on that glass dick. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like he's talking like that, and he's referencing the song Gone to November while he's talking about this lifestyle and
Yeah.
literally talking about the measurement of like crack cocaine. Like, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so it's super rare that a song that is as beautifully made and woven like this one enters into the hustler's lexicon and mind frame as well. It
Right.
is accomplishing both feats at once. So it is a hit record that is satisfying the streets as well. And he's doing it in a very, very subtle way. He's doing it with his ethos.
Mhm.
He's satisfying the streets with his ethos, but it's still catchy. It's still friendly. It's still acceptable. And for people who are not immersed in this culture, they're not even going to grasp it. They're just going to think it's a catchy record from Wyclef from the Fugees.
Mhm. Which is what I thought when I was in high school. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's a masterful pull off of a record. I would love to hear some of your thoughts.
Man, like it's it's one of those songs I listen to a lot, along with Guantanamera, um, which is a special record for lots of other reasons too.
I think
Like,
Guantanamera is a better record. Me personally, that's my
yeah,
favorite.
that's what I think too.
Carnival.
Like, that's one of my favorite songs of high school, really. I mean,
How about
and
that? One of my favorite rap records of that era,
yeah, Celia
or
Cruz,
whatever it is. Whatever it is, I don't even know what that record is. That record's just dope.
it is, it is.
It's kind
No,
of like you want to know what Wyclef's The Carnival is? It's kind of like somewhere. It's almost in that Missy Elliott Timberland territory where
yeah,
it's like, well, it's like it's rap, but it's like it's doing something different that like your traditional boom bap rap or your
Haitian feel to it. Like, it's got
yes.
that
Like
feel
in a
to it.
good way. No,
Yeah,
like in a
it
good
was
way.
not insult at
Like you
all.
want to
Yeah,
know what it is? It's almost like it feels very Calypso, Carlos Santana,
yeah,
like all that inspired Bob Marley. Like, no, the inspiration of like Santana and Marley and Calypso music. And
yeah.
I think whatever is unique to his culture and upbringing in Haiti and also in New York, he tried his best to sprinkle all over this album. And I
Mhm.
think for the most part, he did a excellent job of doing
Yeah.
that.
And he was a big enough star at that point to pull Celia Cruz to because she actually sang on that. Celia Cruz is the woman who's singing on Guantanamera. That song is hers
Yeah,
originally.
yeah, no,
Um,
no, I know.
eh
I didn't know that was her really singing.
mhm.
I
Um,
always assumed it was a sample because it's rap.
I
It's 1997.
I thought it was her singing. I'm pretty sure. It sounds older, like the voice sounds older than her recording. I'll have to
Right.
go back and listen to the 2 together, but Celia Cruz is like the queen in Cuba. Like, not like a queen, but like the
Yeah.
singular, like Aretha, like Billie Holiday, like she's that
Yeah.
lady.
She's
and
Whitney.
yeah, she's at the very, very top
Yeah.
of the heap. So, um, to be able to pull her or even pull a sample from her, if that's the case,
Well, also too,
it's a big
I
deal.
mean, you have to understand, like the year before, the Fugees are the biggest rap group in the
Right.
world, like bar none.
Right. That's what is a reminder of that. That
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, they're massive. I mean, like in '96, they're bigger. Like when we talk about '96 being the best year from a qualitative standpoint,
mhm,
I mean, they were the biggest thing that year. The Fugees were the biggest thing in rap in '96. If we're
yeah,
talking about like notoriety and like star power, I mean, them and Tupac. It's the Fugees and Tupac, and then
yeah,
it would probably go like Tupac for solo artists, Fugees for group and overall the branding of hip hop globally. And then after that, you would get to everybody else. But it's Tupac and the Fugees in '96 in terms of who is, you know, running the tea leaves.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
like yeah, that's the thing. Like the Fuji show was also considered to be the best rap show that year too.
Mhm,
Yeah, like if you
yeah,
if you saw them live, like they put on a show that was pretty memorable at the time. And I think this is forgotten sometimes by her, the expectation of a certain person's performances was built off of how they performed when the score came out.
mhm.
And she was the best performer of the three.
Oh, she's an incredible performer when she's, like, on her well,
Yes.
like,
So
she's so,
so
so good.
some of this thing isn't just about your lateness, it's about the performance, and you're a victim of your own success.
It is uh, I don't wanna tee you up on this one necessarily because this is way off subject for this, but that's why you have such a problem with Kendrick Lamar too, right? Or why you have traditionally had it because it's not just the quality of until now, until this most recent one, um, the quality of the work. It is the, like,
The built-in
you're
expectation.
capable of better than that. You're
It's the
capable
built-in
of
expectation. It's
yes,
okay to say it. It's the built-in expectation.
yeah,
Yes, I have a built-in expectation based on prior work. And so I don't expect you necessarily to replicate prior work, but I do expect an approximation when people are saying you're the greatest. If you're the greatest, I expect an approximation.
and I think that's actually if we're coming back around, um, that was a lot of the expectations on the Counting Crows too, at this point, because they were never one of the they were never the biggest band in the world, but they were one of the few bands that touched the jammier band scenes like the Dave Matthews, like they could cross
Okay.
over to those fans of those people and the fans of the REMs and the U2s and the, Pearl Jams, like, they bridged that gap between the 2, and they had a bigger fan base because of it as well.
You know what? We need to spend a day differentiating the types of bands. Like we need to
Okay,
do a mirror music show
we can do
where
that. That'd be a lot of fun.
no, no, no. So look what I'm going about to submit to you. You're going to love this. I'm going to key up a list of like 30 bands,
Mhm.
and we're going to classify them as a punk band, a rock band.
That would be my favorite thing ever. That would be great.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So I'll come up with the bands. You come up with the categories about where they should be placed. How about that?
Okay. Here's the thing. Many of these bands are going to be like a combination of them, right?
Yes.
Like a combination of buckets. So it would not necessarily and when you name bands, I will probably like think of other buckets, so to speak. So I'll have to I mean I'll
You
have a
got to give
general
them a home.
idea of it,
Okay.
but
Okay.
also
This makes me want to ask you a question. Okay. So watch this. Is Allen Iverson a point guard or a shooting guard to you?
yeah, it's the same kind of question, right? Um
But to you, what is he? Because I think it says a lot about how you may frame things.
my reflex is point guard.
I agree. And here's why. Because if you call Steph a point guard, then Iverson's a point guard.
Iverson was the first, not the first one, but like he's the mold or one of the molds anyway.
Isaiah is kind of the first one, but
Yeah.
Isaiah is more of a pure point guard than Iverson in terms
Yeah.
of like teammates getting involved, but also had way better teammates.
Yeah.
Um, Like Steph
Yes,
and
so much of what happened to Iverson was because his teammates were not
so
let's
so
say it nicely, we're not on the level of Isaiah Thomas's.
so people think Iverson is like a ball hog. Him and Steph Curry have almost the same career assist per game average. Like literally, it's almost
Yeah.
identical.
It's narrative, right?
Correct. It's all about how you really want to look at things. Well, it's okay when this guy averages 6.2 assists, but it's not okay when this guy averages 6.2 assists. This guy's a point guard and he's the greatest shooter of all time, but still gets to be called a point guard. But this guy, who's probably the best pure scorer,
He's
like like
certainly among them. Yeah.
like if we're talking pound for pound,
Oh, yeah. If we're
he's the
talking
best.
pound for pound, he absolutely is
If we're
that
talking
top
pound
of
for
that
pound,
list.
he's the best scorer ever. But even if we're not talking pound for pound, we're talking about a guy who's closer to your height and my height. That's
Mhm.
like literally the type of scorer that Kobe, Michael Jordan, and Kevin Durant and Wilt Chamberlain is. And it's like,
He could
but
still do whatever he wanted to. Like, he's
I mean,
cold.
he pretty much walked into the league at our height, Andrew, averaging 24 points a game, and pretty much the average between 24 to 30 the entire time he played. So,
Yeah, and,
it's like
I mean, and those Sixers teams were not as bad as people say they were, but they were also let's call them more defensively minded teammates
they're
than
defensive.
and he was maybe not the offense, but
No,
was he was basically the offense, right?
he took a lot
So
of shots he didn't have he shouldn't have had to take had he had better offensive teammates.
yeah,
He didn't have bad teammates. He needed better offensive
yeah,
teammates. And he
yeah,
needed to probably be more accepting of it because when he had better offensive teammates, it didn't always go as well.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm that'd be a fun conversation. Like
Yeah.
that'd be a lot of
I,
fun to
I
do.
think maybe we should make that the next mirror music. I think that should be the next one. Is that I'm going to come up with a list of let's say 50 bands.
Okay,
How many categories do you think you need? Five? 50 bands, five categories?
sure. I mean,
And what if I tell you,
there's general groups and then there's like subgroups of those groups too. So
okay, and what if I would tell you that stylistically, maybe based on how some groups evolved or changed with the times for the better, maybe you can put them in different ones and be like, no, they actually belong here and here. This is part of why they're great because they actually belong here from, 19 this to 19 that. And then they
mhm.
actually belong here from 19 this to 19 this because they just totally changed what they did.
Yeah, my brain's going 100 miles an hour on this now, but like it often seems like that the bands that we consider to be the greatest of all time um, are one of two things. They are either the zenith example of a particular style, like
Mm.
either
The
the
epit-
originator or like Black Sabbath, for example, like the originator of a type of music,
Okay.
um,
Or the
or
epitome of it.
or like the best example of it,
Yeah.
or they are groups, Rolling Stones, The Grateful Dead, REM, bands like that that mix together like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 different kinds of stuff. All you hear pieces of all of those things in their
Right.
music.
This is gonna be one of those. How about this? This is what I mean. You're gonna have to like enter the Wu Tang. This one is just like, oh no, like this. Some of those records are good, and you can tell people were rapping more, and he was cutting people short to make sure
Yeah,
that they got their shine, but that the record was still good. It's like can't have it. You're not gonna rap. No, all of you can't rap all the way through this for 2 minutes.
right.
Like
There's too many
we
too many people.
3 minutes and 38 seconds for God's sake. Like
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
got 10 bars. Go. And in a
Gi
lot of ways,
give me your best 10, yeah.
is kind of like Wu Tang Clan. Like KRS-One had a 10-bar rhyme style for a lot
Mhm,
of his stuff because a lot of his stuff was like call and react and reaction. You know
yeah,
what I mean? He invented like the 10 to 12 bar rhyme style. Wu Tang was the first people to actually put it into motion, but they put it into motion because there's so many fucking people on record.
right. It has to
So
be
it's like,
shorter so that everybody can get in, yeah.
yeah, I mean, Protect Your Neck is one of the best production jobs in rap history that nobody ever talks about because he fit 9 guys on one song in under 5 minutes. and
Mhm.
they all got appropriate mic time.
Yeah.
Like people don't talk about that. That's production and executive production. And don't tell me that those guys didn't have more rhymes than that. Those guys got cut
They
off. He's
did.
like, no, no, no. He's like, you're gonna have to cut that. You're gonna have to do something with that. I'm gonna have to take this part out. There's probably stuff. I guarantee you that there's probably an original version of Protect Your Neck around somewhere that's probably like 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like with all the
Each
guys
of them get a minute. Yeah.
like they're full verses. But I got to get out of here. I know you got some things to
Yeah.
do shortly. It was good just to kind of get back in the
Yeah. This
fucking.
is good to sit here. Make me a list though. Like I'm looking forward to doing that. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. See, like I want to do it live though, like where I
We can do
can.
that. That's fine.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna come up with the bands though. I like that idea.
Are you going to tell me the list beforehand or no? It's fine either way. I'm just
That
wondering.
that depends how your brain is gonna cycle through. Like, how about this? I might have to give it to you before because I think if I give it to you before, it might give you time to give explanations about why you have people placed where. Maybe we can even provide some visual aids if we do it that way.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Let me know how this turns out.
Okay. I'll do it. Thanks, man.
Like, subscribe, share. We care.
See y'all. Be good.
And it's one more day in the canyon. And it's one more night in Hollywood. It's been so long since I've seen the ocean. I guess I should. Na 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 na.